Remember, this show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two. Norbert's is having a sale. Show your gym some love. Norbert's is offering 10% off their vinyl cleaner and chalk cleaner. Go to norberts.com for 10% discount on anything with the code Gymnastic. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used in anything in the online store. No minimum. Just go to follow Instagram. Go to the Instagrams and follow Norbert's Athletic there and comment on the giveaway post. Good luck. This week, Listunova and Nemour competed in Italy, the first ever 10 for an HBCU gymnast and an amazing gymnast, Morgan Price, of course. Cal's Maya Luzon has joined the very, very small 10.0 club this year. A Rhythmic judge has been suspended for 4 years, and we will debate whether or not that's long enough. It's February 10th, 2025, and welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. Let's start with the wonderful, wonderful happy news for the world.
You have happy news?
Happy news. I know.
Wow.
We need it right now. And we have the first 10 for an HBCU for Fisk, which was the first HBCU to have a gymnastics team. Morgan Price has got a 10 on bars. And remember, Morgan Price, she's amazing. She was at first committed to Arkansas. And then she was like, oh, no, there's an HBCU. I'm going to go there. Went to Fisk, has been incredible for them, has been an all-around champion, and now got a 10 on bars. And I feel like watching her dismount, too, her half and half out, gorgeously stuck, and then she, like, freaks out when she lands. And then seeing her...
She's like, I have a good dismount, everyone. You want to look? You want to pause? You want to wait? Look at my chest position.
You want to see how my...
this.
legs are together, my feet are together, my toes are pointed the whole time, and I don't move my feet, and I absorb the landing the way it should be done. Thank you so much. My name is Morgan Price. You can give me a 10. The way her team tackled her at the end when they saw her score, it made me so happy. It's the balm I needed on my soul this week. Thank you, Morgan Price, so much.
Are we just balming the soul? Am I going to rain on the parade of this 10, or are we just doing balm the soul? I'm fine with either.
It is headlines portion of the show, so there will be a lot of...
we could just headlines it. All right.
There'll be a lot of storms until we go to more fun stuff. But I think this is a really, really good thing. So the FIG Gymnastics Ethics Foundation, which is a new thing at the FIG in the last couple of years, they have suspended a Rhythmic judge for 4 years, and then she is stripped of her brevet status. Now, here's what happened. So basically, the judge's name is Evangelina Tricomidi, and she was also the technical committee head for Rhythmic in the European Rhythmic, the European Union Gymnastics. What are they called? They're like European Gymnastics.
It's now called European Gymnastics. It used to be the UEG, but that was too cumbersome. So it's just European Gymnastics now.
Thank you. They made it easier, and I can't remember what it's called. So basically, it was interfering with scores at the 2024 Rhythmic Gymnastics European Championship, but that led to a Cypriot gymnast getting the final Olympic qualifying spot over a Polish gymnast. And what happened was, think about it like the way the superior judge, like Donatella in the floor final, how her final decision goes. It's sort of like that in Rhythmic, where the superior judge can block a score, and she kept doing it for this Polish gymnast in favor of the Cypriot gymnast, and the Cypriot gymnast then got the Olympic spot. So my question for you is twofold.
What's going on in Rhythmic Gymnastics? Because I can't.
Why is Rhythmic Gymnastics still allowed to be a sport? Why hasn't it been taken over by an outside organization?
Because the outside organization would take one look at Rhythmic Gymnastics and immediately burst into flames.
Institutionalized corruption. It's ongoing forever, and it's so prominent. It's constantly an issue. And in boxing, it was so bad that basically they lost their FIG lost its ability to run boxing. It had to be taken over by an outside organization just so they could have it in the Olympics. That's how bad it is. And I'm just like, when is that going to happen to Rhythmic? It's constantly going on. So that's my first question for you. And my second question for you is, Is 4 years, a 4-year suspension long enough?
I mean, do I ever think a 4-year suspension is long enough? Probably not. I think if the investigation found, clearly they were quite confident that this was cheating and not incidental because they've imposed a 4-year suspension. So if you're saying this judge was cheating in favor of a gymnast, all right, well, you don't get to judge anymore. That's kind of that's how I feel about it. It's like, well, judging is a privilege, and if you've betrayed that privilege, then go do something else.
Yep. I feel like it should be like she's stripped of her brevet status. I feel like it should be like, yeah, and you cannot hold any office that has anything to do with, you don't get to judge elite, and you don't get to hold any office like on a technical committee that has anything to do with running the sport at the elite level. Like, that should be it. Yeah. Rhythmic.
Making all the problems with artistic gymnastics seem not as bad, but still pretty bad.
Thanks,
but
Rhythmic.
Artistic gymnastics, still pretty bad.
Speaking of the rainy, we're getting all the storms out of the way. The NCAA has banned transgender women from women's NCAA sports. No changes to the men's category. So they issued this statement.
They said the men's category is open to all eligible student athletes. Women's category restricted to student athletes assigned female at birth. Schools directed to foster a welcoming environment on all campuses. Which is really just the knife in the back of this whole statement, which is like, we don't recognize your validity as a person, but welcome. But we're welcoming to you. Really? Really?
This is in response to Trump's executive order this past week, keeping men out of women's sports.
Quotes around that.
Right. The interesting response to this is Dr. Jack Turbin, who has been on the NCAA's Committee for Competitive Safeguards and Medical Aspects of Sport, resigned, and he said the actions of the NCAA, he said, quote, does not align with medical or scientific consensus. I cannot in good conscience participate in this kind of politicization of science and medicine at the expense of some of our most vulnerable student athletes. Men's sports remain unchanged. This only affects women's sports, and trans men can still compete, and they can even get a medical exemption for testosterone in men's sports. This is a total change from the NCAA, where, remember the North Carolina bathroom bill, and the NCAA was supposed to have like some basketball tournament championship there, and they were like, hey, North Carolina, we're not going to have a championship there because of this this bathroom bill, and then the bill was reversed. And this also comes after the president of the NCAA participated in a congressional hearing where he was asked how many trans athletes are competing in the NCAA, and he said, I don't know, like 10 maybe across all divisions, all NCAA sports. And then he brought up the real problem is the abuse that women suffer online and the harassment they get and how bad it is and how much they suffer, and that's something we should really be looking at. And then they did this. Any thoughts, Spencer?
I mean, many thoughts. Because, okay, so you noted the idea of that this is supposed to be saving women's sports, protecting women's sports from, I will point to Nancy Armour wrote a very good piece about this for USA Today, noting that it's a solution in search of a problem, which is, I think, well put, that it's like, this is not a problem. You're creating a problem, and you don't actually care about saving women's sports. I'm like, if you actually cared about saving women's sports, this would be paired with like maybe a pledge that that no member institutions will cut any women's sports if there are changes to Title IX or something. If you actually cared about saving women's sports, that's kind of a smokescreen. And if you actually cared about the safety of women, there would be like things actually happening to help preserve the safety of women.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the other thing that we should talk about here is that the White House reversed Title IX rules from the Biden administration. The Biden administration that offered more protections for the abused and instead now offers more protections for the accused and lessens the liability to colleges. So I think the important thing to keep your eye on with this is it's one of the many things that is being used to divide people. Just don't fall for this. Don't fall for trying to be divided. Look at the things that unite us. And specifically, I wanted to give the example of Minnesota Pride, which raised $70,000 in 2 days after Target pulled their sponsorship in response to Trump's anti-DEI executive order. So Colgate has pulled their sponsorship from a Fisk meet due to Trump's threats. So Fisk, the first HBCU, Colgate, as in the toothpaste, was one of their sponsors, and they pulled their sponsorship, which was like $10,000 or $20,000. It was a lot of money that they were sponsoring one of these big meets with Wilberforce. But there are teams who, despite what is happening, despite this stuff, they're staying true to their communities. Pitt still has their trans and pride flags in their official team bio on Instagram. Thank you, Pitt. And Maryland had their amazing Pride Leo, as usual. Gorgeous. Like, it's basically the flag. And then the arms are like the sparkle flag. I love the arms. It's like you're in a club at night and there's like neon lasers on the arms. Yeah, I love it. Maryland doing it once again. So thanks to all the teams that are standing up for your community. A couple of gymnastic updates. We tried something new this week, which is we did a watch along before College and Cocktails on Friday. And Spencer, can you talk about this decision and why you decided to do this? I'm going to pause here and play some of our audio from College and Cocktails on Friday, where Spencer talked about this. And then I'm going to give you guys a middle of the episode preview of what we do over at College and Cocktails, so you guys can enjoy it and check it out and see what you think. So we're going to talk about what happened with the Bama hecklers. I answer some questions and hope you guys enjoy. Here it is. Welcome to College and Cocktails, the unofficial Friday night college post NCAA gymnastics meet show that we do where we answer questions live, and it's a bonus for our Club Gym Nerd members who support us all year long. And today's meet is brought to you by Shirtless College Fanboy Drama by the Beam.
Every
so
meet this year.
It's the best. You can listen to this podcast anytime in your favorite podcast player. You do not even have to join us live, but if you do, we answer your emails and questions you put in the forum, and also you can join us live and ask questions. Instructions on how to do both of those, add it to your favorite feed and ask questions, are in the show notes. This show is rated PG-14 because of feelings, which we should talk about, because today is February. It's February 7th.
December. I love that you didn't even go back to January. You were like, it's December, right? Merry Christmas.
Just watching Jameson Sears joy every week is like Christmas for me, and that is why.
Good save.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely
it's
segment.
A fact. I'm a professional. It's so we just watched LSU versus Alabama, and before that we did watch a little bit of Florida at Arkansas, which is interesting. Spencer, first, can we address you did something different. You asked to do something different this week, which was we had a live blog. You're a live blog on Gymcastic. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I thought was fun.
Yeah, it was.
I told Jessica, I was like, I cannot do the live blogs on the balance beam situation anymore right now. Like, for the first reason, like mostly physically, like it just hurts too much in my hands to try to do that, and afterward, and like it's not fun because I'm like, I can't do it the way I would normally would. So it's just like skill by skill doing every routine, like it's just not happening. And so I was like, wouldn't it be fun to do it like I don't have to do every skill and do it kind of for club members who are the ones who pay the bills. So I thought it was fun. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. But basically, like, mostly it's physically, like, I'm not going to do the balance beam situation live blogs right now because it's not fun. And also, like, ad revenue for websites is so bad. Like, there's no reason for me to do it if it's not fun. Like, fun is the only reason I would do it, and if it's not being fun, I'm not going to do it. So, good solution where we could follow things along and have fun without being so like, writing about every routine.
Should we start with the shirtless boys in the room?
Yes. Okay. So this was the drama. I'm putting in gigantic air quotes because it was also like kind of nothing. We saw, the LSU coaches talking to the shirtless Alabama boys while LSU was on beam. Just like we've seen like every coach do for the like boys in the fan section so far this season, which it's like, unless they're saying something really gross, like, get over it.
That's the thing. Unless it's like sexual harassment or racist or like death threats, like this is college sports. That's why you do distraction stuff. I kind of felt like the boys coaches approached it wrong because I think they drew so much attention to what was happening that the whole LSU, everyone in the LSU lineup messed up after the first routine. Everybody had mistakes, and not huge mistakes, but not their normal. And I was like, this is
a lot of tentative dance combinations.
Right. And I'm just like, this is when you draw tons of attention to something, when you're just like, there's a giant bat loose in the arena, then that's all you can focus on, for instance. Just an example.
I don't know how much attention they really do to it. I mean, John noticed, and so they talked about it on the broadcast. And then they stationed Courtney in front. Yeah, I know. Because then they stationed Courtney in front of them to distract them during the routines, which I thought was not a bad strategy.
That's why I said the boys were wrong. She was right.
Yeah. She would start talking to them during the LSU beam routines to be like, focus on me and not on this routine, which is like not a bad way to deal with it. Liza says it feels like a bit of karma when the gymnasts are not the least clothed people in the room.
Yeah, I just felt like if people are saying something disgusting, you have them removed. Or if it's inappropriate, they should have their tickets taken away. They should have to leave. Otherwise, like, you make friends with them and like get them on your side and like, you guys, will you take a picture with us? We love you. That's how you get them on your side. Or you ignore it because that's what you're trained to do. And it's a life skill to ignore assholes in life. It really comes in handy. Okay, what Panda with a Cookie say?
Jay Clark said in the post-game interview that the shirtless Bama boys, didn't know the etiquette and needed to know the right way to be obnoxious.
That's an excellent spin.
Which could mean a lot of things. Like, not knowing the etiquette can mean a lot of things. It could mean like they were really saying things that you should not be saying, and then something needs to happen, or it's like they were booing and that's fine.
Right. Which is like the only etiquette with gymnastics is like, I mean, in gymnastics in general, you don't boo because it's like you're supposed to enjoy all the gymnastics. But in college and in different countries, they're not gymnastics fans. They're nationalist fans. They're just, the school fans. So all that's out the window. And then I enjoyed it very much. I was like, yes, college sports. There's a lot of shirtless boys.
Make it a big right. And now we need Ashley Priest, this is not her personality as a head coach, to like publicly defend them and get into a thing with Jay. This is what we need.
This is the
kind of
thing.
Not knowing the etiquette can go a lot of different ways, because I would say the Olympics French fans shushing during the beam routines was also an example of not knowing the etiquette, because actually, like being loud and cheering during beam routines is fine and encouraged.
Yeah. Namby-pamby says,
I'd like more details on the right way to be obnoxious.
Okay. Well,
Jay's gonna give us a dissertation on the right way to be obnoxious.
Yeah. The pretending to fall asleep, the holding up a sign that is, whatever makes fun of a gymnast in some way, as long as it's not like, haha, your family member's dead. That kind of stuff's like off limits. But that's the thing, the gymnast has to go up and be like, I love this. Thank you so much. It's so funny. Let me take a picture with it. And then you got them on your side. The holding up the newspapers, that's funny. pretending to do a replay. Like, there's lots of things that you can do, imitating the routine, all those things. It has to be like an ironic funny. It can't be cruel, but people are going to be cruel too. So you have to prepare for that. Namby-pamby.
Wrong way to be obnoxious. Racism, sexism. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, death threats, that kind of stuff. You know, we try not to do that kind of stuff. That's bad. Victoria says.
The right way to be obnoxious from the coach who got a yellow card last year. Apparently that's the right way to be obnoxious.
Fans having a yellow card and a red card to hold up, that's funny. Dressing up as a judge, which we've had listeners do before, pretend to be judges. Dressing up as the opposing team and doing something funny. Okay, can we talk about some of the scoring? Because Selena Harris, after this question, we'll talk about Selena Harris. MCM says,
can someone please explain to me why the gymnasts don't remove the wedgies from their butts? Is that the style these days? I think at a certain point you'd have to spend so much time pulling out that wedgie, you wouldn't do anything else. So you're just like, at a certain point, you're just like, go with it. Live your life.
Some gymnasts just wear, that is the style. They literally like put their leotard on, they karate chop their butt cheeks, and then they leave it like that. That's like, that's how they wear it.
Sure.
And some, it's not a deduction.
We've already
to
hit
pull
the
out your
karate
wedgie.
chop your butt cheeks portion of the episode. 13 minutes in, solid pacing. Good job.
Okay, I'm back. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want more, check it out at gymnastic.com. Put a link in the show notes. That's College and Cocktails that we do every Friday. And now I'm going to go back to our episode where Spencer is talking a little more about doing his live chats on Friday nights now. Okay, back to the episode.
So we decided to do kind of a chat watch along on Gymnastics, so I could still do something, which is not like doing every skill or every routine, just general observations that I can take my time to type. And also, I think people liked that you can like respond to each comment in the software that we use and kind of chat with each other. So if you're interested in doing that, Club Gym Nerd members, we're going to do the same thing this coming Friday, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time for the college meets. So we'll see how it goes.
And thanks to everybody who's been like so supportive of this and really understands like the state of advertising and understands like, you know, why Spencer wanted to do this and supporting him. And people have like really been positive and really been great about, you know, supporting what they enjoy. So thanks to everybody. So February 14th, Valentine's Day with Spencer at 4 p.m. Okay. Also, we're on
Don't
Blue Sky.
throw roses or whatever you do on Valentine's Day.
Also, we're on Blue Sky. It's like Twitter before the Nazi salute oligarchs took over, and it was fun. So it's just like less assholes. So you can go on there, check it out. There's a bunch of starter packs. You can just follow what you want. Moss, Bodega Cats, Gymnastics. Also,
Moss?
Moss. There's a Moss one.
Whoa.
Just pictures of Moss, which I know Blue Sky's also spying on me because Moss is my other favorite thing that I use to calm myself. And I love Moss, and all of a sudden it just popped up, and I was like, how does it know this? Oh, fact checker signed up for me. They weren't spying on me. Fact checker signed up. Thanks. Oh, that's so sweet. Valentine's Day. This week, we are watching Oklahoma versus LSU, the big one. And then we're going to get...
One versus two.
Then we're going to get together Friday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, Valentine's Day, and we'll all discuss it as a family, bring a friend, and we have a mocktail or cocktail of the week. Last week's was so good, you guys. So if Impossible Score was last week. So if you try this week's cocktail, you can download it. It's always
topical.
It's so topical for this week. Also, Fantasy Gymnastics update. Our fantasy podcast is now in your podcast feed, not just on YouTube. We tell you who the steals deals are, who's on a buy. You can play it at gymcast.com. There's no deadline to join. There's weekly winners. So we hope to see you there. It's very fun. Gymternet news.
Let me know. Lay it on me, the Gymternet news.
Jordan Chiles was in a Nike ad, and like, I love it. Like, the styling is so cool. Like, how she's like the way her stylists work with her is amazing. I'm so impressed with it. It's so cool. Also, she should totally play flag football in LA 2028 because that's going to be an Olympic sport.
What if she wants to go for the U.S. gymnastics team again?
Well, this is the thing. So she
Don't-
should do
cut her.
both. She should do both, obviously, because she can do gymnastics and just show up for flag football. I mean, it's flag football. Also, her mom played football through high school, and she tried to get all her kids to do football, but none of the girls were interested. So, but Jordan's really good. Did you watch any of the clips of her? What am I asking? Of course, you didn't watch any clips of her playing flag football. But honestly, I was like, oh my God.
Fact checker asked me before we started if I watched the Super Bowl.
Oh,
can you
so embarrassing.
Can you imagine?
This year, I didn't watch anything. Nothing. I mean, I caught some of the halftime performance because that's the only important part. But so great. And also, shout out to the Eagles because obviously the home of
so someone who didn't care about the Super Bowl suddenly cares about the results of the Super Bowl.
Shout out to Philadelphia, where my family is from, where the last stop on the Underground Railroad, the station where the soft landing after the Underground Railroad was, the home of the Quakers, defeated the other team. I'm very, very happy about it. Yay. This is only the other team. The other team. Red
This is
team.
really where people come. This is the podcast people come to for their football news.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Huge football fans. Monday, after the games, they're like, we're going to listen to Gymnastic to see what they have to say about throwing the old oblate spheroid around.
Oh, thank you so much to Evan the engineer who sent a long email, which was excellent, about parabolas, and what I'm describing is not actually a parabola. And he was he's accurate as he always is, but the thing is, I'm just trying to say a word that people know in general, maybe remember.
But that also makes me sound maybe a little smart.
Right. Those two things.
What is the term for what you're trying to describe? Is there a more accurate term?
There is, but I'd have to pull up his email to remember what it is. But it was excellent. And yeah, I mean, we could try to make that term a thing. That could be
you'd have to know it first, but then sure.
Yes, but then
mm-hmm.
But I feel like parabola, people, you get the idea of a parabola. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is how we fly over the earth. When you fly somewhere far away, you don't go in a straight line. You do a parabola over the top. I'm going to get another email from the engineers.
You're going to get 9 more paragraphs. Be like,
I should just
start with Jessica.
I'm just going to say rainbow. Make a rainbow shape with your dismount and all of your passes and your leaps. Well, your leaps are more like your heart rate. If you're watching the graph,
spike when you're watching gymnastics.
Each leap should be a boom heart rate up. Okay, Serie A in Italy, which is called Series A if you're saying it in English. That happened this week. So this is the series of meets that the Italians have, which are always great, and they compete a lot. And
it's the domestic gymnastics league.
They invite a lot of gymnasts from around the world. So it's like if you know what, they used to be the American Cup, and it never was very good because it was really early in the year. Nobody was ready.
That was the slogan, American Cup. It's not great.
It's not, even when it was a World Cup, it was people just were not ready. Yeah, the Italian league is not like that. It's maybe a little bit, tiny bit watered down sometimes, but it's still great gymnastics. I want to talk about Listunova's floor because she is doing, I feel like Russia got the memo that the Women's Technical Committee said do do all the events like the Netherlands and Romania. So she is doing a double Y turn to a immediate illusion, and I believe she would get credit for that.
We call that an Ethora, not officially, but that's a Thor's daughter.
Right.
Doing an illusion out of your turn is a Thor's daughter. Those are the rules.
There's probably 175% more dance in Listunova's routine than there has been in a Russian routine since the Soviet era, since the 96s.
I mean, she's always gone for it.
She has always gone for it, but there's
that was the example at the Tokyo Olympics where I thought the US really was moving through molasses on their floor routines compared to Listunova, who was just moth to a flame, basically, just like zip, 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 zapping around her whole routine.
But they like really, really, really got it. Like there's a lot of just dance passages that are actually just dance. And she's doing a Michael Jackson routine with lots of there's a moonwalk in it.
Yeah, it's
questionable. But a shout out for dancing. Like this is the thing, not standing and moving your elbows. This is the important thing. Nemour also competed, and what was shocking, Nemour also is going to be at Gymnastics, by the way. Nemour, Olympic champion on bars. She lost on bars to newbie, the new Italian senior Perotti on bars.
Game changer.
Giulia Perotti got a 6.0 D on bars. And it's so clean. I mean, and she's all the stalters and all the pirouettes, everything you love from Italian bars are there. And this is the other thing what I mean about like people getting the notice about how you're supposed to actually dance. So we'll show this GIF of her beam routine. I would describe her transition into a wolf turn as basically like a dramatic swimming spider solving a mystery underwater.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Thank you. I'm like, yes, no one should see a wolf turn coming. You should be casting a spell. And yeah, I love it. We would like to see much, much more of that. Thank you so much, Perotti. So in other news, Perotti also won the meet, by the way. She's the all-around champ. I forgot about that. The other thing that happened this week, Ellie Black made her own Hanes period underwear commercial where she has her
commercial. I was like,
it's like one of those social media things.
Ellie Black made her own underwear.
She probably could. Nova Scotians are very self-sufficient. They have to know how to do the things. Also, her gym has the pride flags up. Thank you, Ellie's gym. But anyway, she's like doing gymnastics, whatever. And then at the end, she has like a fake interview where her teammates are like interviewing her like it's after a meet. And she's like, yeah, well, I just started my period. So, that's always a bummer. But I feel really confident in my Hanes period underwear. And I was like, yes, Ellie. Ellie is just fulfilling all of my dreams that I just wish there was an Ellie and there was these period underpants basically back in the day. So everyone, should reach out to Hanes and be like, thank you for supporting a gymnast. I'm only buying these because of Ellie Black. And then maybe you'll love them. Other news, Sam Oldham is doing documentaries now, and he has one on Harry Hepworth and Luke Whitehouse. That's out. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can check it out. But it's really interesting. I learned new things, and it's also shot very well. And it's honestly like, this is what I want to see from a documentary. I want a deep dive on like the struggles and personalities of the athletes. I don't want like a fluff. I want to learn new things and have a perspective on people who know the athletes really well about how they got.
You want to get into it. You don't want you don't want small talk in your documentary.
Right. And I don't want it to just be like funny things happening in the background or like, mic'd up stuff. Like I want it's basically like I want a fluff, like the fluff we got back in the day, but for not to be sexist, racist.
Or just lies.
Or just absolute lies that are made up for propaganda in the Cold War. I want like a deep dive on who people are and how they got here and what their struggles were and like what's easy for them and like all that. And I just really like what Sam Oldham's doing. And so link to it. US Classic, we finally have a place.
And it's an old friend named Hoffman Estates, Illinois.
It is in not Chicago, Illinois, July 18th and 19th. We will be there, and we plan on having a live show there too. So Hoffman Estates, if you guys know, I can never find a good Airbnb there. But if you guys, of a good Airbnb or there's like a good hotel around there, I'm sure there is, but hotels are always a pain in the ass for us because we are there for so long. Anywho, we'll be going to Illinois. In dumpster fire news, we remember the coach that was filming athletes in the bathroom at USA Gymnastics World in Utah? We talked about the story a while ago. Adam Richard Jacobs, he pleaded guilty to sexually exploiting minors in 2 courts this week, admitting he filmed at least 15 children without consent in the bathroom of the gym. and one while traveling. So he is facing separate state and federal sentences for his crimes. So glad he is finally coming to justice for that. Did you see the adorable moment between Trinity and Bart this weekend?
No, I missed it.
Oh my God. Trinity Thomas, who holds every single record you can possibly hold except one in NCAA gymnastics, and Bart Connor were commenting together. And Bart, they put up a screen that had all of Trinity's accolades on it. And Bart was like moving all around and be like, you've done so many things. I can't even get in the screen. And he's like, there's no room for me here. It's just you. Look at all the things it was like he was so beautifully like talking about all of her accomplishments and how she had so many that it was like, you need to take up the whole screen. And it was just super cute. And Nadia was watching it and giggling along while she put up a clip of herself laughing as he was like trying to peek, around her little box of accomplishments. It was just so sweet. And, one of the reasons we love Barton. Wish he was on, the bigger meets and had bigger assignments. But anywho, Simone Biles.
Mm-hmm. I've heard
returning to the Met. She and her husband, they are going to be among the 2025 Met Gala host committee members. Frederick Richard is an AAU finalist, and if you're not following him on the socials, you definitely should because he has very entertaining stuff. Spencer, you watched some amazing and fun gymnastics this weekend. Please tell us all about it.
Yes, I did. We did our Friday Night Heights watch, and then after that I was like, you know what, this weekend's going to be about D3 palate cleanser. I'm watching a bunch of D3 meets and I'm going to love it, and I'm going to reinvigorate myself for the NCAA season. It totally worked. I had a great time. So if you're not if you don't actively follow D3 gymnastics or watch it, which I think a lot of people do, just follow the big teams because that's what they've heard of, and also because everything's going on at the same time. You don't have time to watch all of this stuff. And sometimes it's like, oh, it'd be fun to watch D3, but there's an Oklahoma LSU meet going on right now. But so you kind of get, I've broken it down. You kind of get 3 categories of routines at a D3 gymnastics meet, all of which I enjoy. One, the silliest fall you've ever seen in your entire life, with also the best attitude about it because it's not the end of the world. And if we score a 9-0, we're still doing pretty well. There was one beam fall I saw this weekend that was particularly enjoyable, where a gymnast was doing a kick over front, kind of not really going to happen, was back on her heels and was not going to keep that on the beam, but was fighting for it for a while and just sort of slow motion lowering to headbutt the beam and then crumpling into a ball and falling off the beam and then sort of cracking up about it the entire time. So that was perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for from gymnastics. First of all, that's type number 1, and it's great. Type number 2 is well, I just call it Jessica gymnastics. Do you want to explain to the people what Jessica gymnastics is?
Yes, it is. Okay, it's big individual D and E skills, but doesn't have the handstands and connections to get the score, because who cares about that? You just I want to see one.
Does not care about handstands on bars.
She's one absolutely beautiful skill, or one skill that's so hard and so beautiful to watch. And I don't care what. Just stand on low bar, jump to the high bar, do a beautiful ginger, and then whatever happens after that, nobody cares. This is my favorite kind of gymnastics. That's why individual event finals at the Olympics and Worlds are the best meet of the whole thing.
And then type 3, the hidden gem, best routine of your entire life that you're like, how have I never heard of this and how has no one talked about it before? Made more impressive because there was a 90-hour judges conference before every routine. Because sometimes that happens, especially at D3 meets where the start value isn't just obviously a 10, and there are large ranges and there have to be lots of judges conferences. And sometimes you have to keep yourself busy. There was some a mock sword fight during a judges conference this week that I enjoyed, because you got to keep yourself going. You got to figure.
Seriously?
I don't know what these gymnasts were doing, but it did look like they were miming a sword fight to keep themselves.
The gymnasts. Okay, I thought the judges were doing that. Okay, the gymnasts were doing a mock sword fight. Well, as you should.
As you should. You got to keep it light as you're waiting 90 hours for them to come up with a score. So in the Category 3, hidden gem, best routine you've ever seen of your life. I do want to highlight Madison Zimmerman at Ursinus, who did the most enjoyable beam routine I saw this weekend from any gymnast at any division and
Gorgeous.
any level. It's a delight. Highlight is her smooth like butter aerial to scale, which is there's no little hesitation. There's no little like, I'm going to do this to scale, wink. It's like, this is one skill and I'm going to fulfill it to its highest level with extended legs. So that's a pleasure. And she's doing another extended front leg, front aerial to a back handspring, and of a kick over front. It's like she's doing the most acro and doing it well. And I very much appreciated watching this. Basically, what you'll find is that the theme of my weekend is that I've decided to forget about all the rest of these teams and just live the rest of my life as an Ursinus gymnastics super fan, because I had a grand time watching the meet for Ursinus against Westchester. I was like, this is all I want to do. They have Erin Rowe is another one who really stood out on that Ursinus team with such a nice ginger on bars. High, legs together, hips above the bar. Caught it. Didn't have that like bloop of the legs when you catch a ginger like a lot of people do. Very much a D1 level Yurchenko full that she's doing. Super laid out, crisp body position. Another thing that really stood out to me from Ursinus was watching Daria Gregory in floor exhibition, who she was just in the exhibition spot. But I think what stood out to me and why I wanted to highlight that routine is that it's the best example of how to do fun floor correctly. Because I think a lot of college gymnasts, when you ask them like, what's your floor routine about? The answer is kind of like, I just want to have fun with the crowd and smile and entertain and show off my personality. Show off your personality. And then you watch the routine and you're like, if that's a personality, you seem like a dud. Because there's not much going on here. But like actually doing a routine where the concept is like, fun, energy, happy. I've never known pain. It's not my type of routine at all because there's like no ancestral pain even in the vicinity of this routine. But it's actually hard to do well because the energy level needs to be at an 11 the entire time. You have to like really commit to every movement and show aggression and amplitude. And it's like to do that right is a challenge. It's not just like kind of a go-to like, well, I could always just do like a smiley routine. Like you really have to commit to it, and she really commits to it. So if you're gonna do that routine, that concept of a routine, it needs to be like Daria Gregory does it. I also noticed, I will say, a charm offensive I think is aimed specifically at Jessica on the Ursinus team, specifically from Sydney Schreiber on floor. Because she has a butterfly in her routine. And I was like, that always makes me think of you. I'm just like, oh, Jessica. But maybe also aimed at me because she does do a double turn directly connected to a wolf jump full. And as I feel like a double turn is the only way to properly connect dance elements on floor, you need to do a double turn and then jump. If you haven't done a double turn before your jump, it's no credit.
Sydney Schreiber, we salute you.
We salute you. And also you would salute the coaches from Ursinus who took her shoes off before walking on the mats, because Jessica feels very, very passionately about this.
So passionately about this. So passionately about this, you guys. Every time I see it's just so disgusting. Anyway, yeah.
But other teams I watched, very impressed by Brockport on beam and the solidity and confidence of their acro series are, I think, the measure of any D1 team. And we saw Amelia York from them, who, by the way, got a 9-9 from one judge with a big lunge on her dismount. So I was like, did we almost just see a D310 if she stuck that dismount? Because there was definitely a 10th on dismount and the judge gave her a 9-9. So I was like, oh, it's happening. I also really enjoyed watching Kiara Hockman from Brockport on beam, because the way that she snaps her arms down after every element, you have never seen a gymnast snap their arms down with such confidence and force. It was like the power of a supernova driving down onto the beam after every skill she did. And I was just like, I could watch this for 20 hours.
Sam Pesek would be so happy about
Sam
this.
Pesek would love this gymnast. She would be like, you're my favorite. Do you want to join the family? Because I'm obsessed with your arms. and your attention to your arms. But also the same at that meet, Cortland broke a program beam record. And I really enjoyed watching Samantha Meadows on beam for them, showing how to like, you can like kind of have a basic mount where you sit on the beam, but if you're going to do that, you have to get to an upright position to start doing skills in an interesting way. And she does a little tiptoe kick. And I'm just like, that was just a nice, interesting little different look of how to just like get up to standing instead of just like, I'm going to push myself up right now. It was like, oh, that was a little elegant and different. So I like seeing that.
Love that. Instead of just like, straighten your legs while holding on to the beam, then kick a leg, then stand up. Like, it's not, you can make it so pretty, but we've seen that 1 million times. Like, do something. Yeah.
Do it, tiptoe it, and then do like a wolf position kick, like Samantha Meadows. And it's just like, it's such a little thing, but it's that slightly different look that when you're watching everyone just sit on the beam and then push themselves up, it's like, this is different. Other thing I noticed, and I want your take on this. Okay. So the Ginger, which is a release I love on bars, is alive and well in D3. Everyone's doing a Ginger. Like UW-Oshkosh, it was just like the Ginger Olympics over there at Oshkosh. They also have a bunch of huge releases, like Sam Zeilinger has a big Tkachev. So if you're into big releases, UW-Oshkosh. And I feel like in general, it was watching these bars routines was a cure for Jaeger fatigue and for Shaposh to pack fatigue, which I feel like we see so much more. Like the go-to release on bars for like top D1 teams is Jaegers and Pike straddle Jaegers and Pike Jaegers, and very few of those in the D3 meets I watch compared to Gingers. And I wanted to get your take on why you think that is.
So the Ginger is for if you have a hard time keeping your bar releases straight. The Jaeger is a front flip, and the Ginger is it looks like you're going to do a dismount, and then you do a flip, half turn, and grab the bar again. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. I think that's a good question. I mean, I think a Ginger, it's easier to fake not being high enough. Like it's easier to grab if you're doing like a minimum skill. It's harder to miss a Ginger. People that are,
I watched a lot of missed Gingers this weekend, I'm going to say.
I feel like the Jaeger, that's a really good question.
Because it was something that came up. I felt like it came up again and again. I was like, this is more Gingers than I have seen in years watching these meets. Because we don't see that many. And like, you'll see like when Jordan Chiles is doing like all of her difficulty that she doesn't have to do, she'll do like an in-bar. We have a couple people doing in-bar Gingers, but we don't see that many. Just like, here's a big Nastia Ginger on bars from the top-ranked teams. I'm wondering if it's a grip thing. Because it is from forward grip, and there's no grip change requirement in the NCAA code. So if you're not comfortable with reverse grip, which a lot of like, if you were an elite, you're like, yeah, I had to do reverse grip since I was 1. But maybe because it's all just like forward grip is a possibility.
That's the thing. I feel like the Ginger is easier from the, I feel like
anyway, I like them. I like a Ginger.
A Jaeger, to do it right, I feel like it's harder to do a minimum Ginger. Not to say these are a minimum Gingers. There's some big, great, beautiful Gingers.
We saw some big amplitude, yeah.
But it's an easier skill. It's an easier, in general. But let me know your takes. People that have actually done these, tell me what you guys think. I always think of what's scarier. Yes, going forward all the way around the bar, letting go anything backward. Yeah, a front flip is always easier, but not if you have to go all the way around the bar first and then hope you don't eat the bar with your teeth, which can also happen on a Ginger. But yeah, I'm
also wondering if like the score savvier decision is like a straddled Jaeger. Because your legs are already, it's okay if they're apart because it's a straddled skill and you're not going to get deducted for your legs like flashing apart on catch. Whereas, if you're just like, I need to do the skill I can do to get the start value I can get, here's a Ginger versus like we're an elite and have 94 different release options, but we're going to have you do a straddled Jaeger because you're not going to get deducted for it.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But on the topic of cure for repetitive skill fatigue, that is one of the fun things about watching D3 gymnastics, because it's not just the same elements over and over again and like the most efficient composition. It's kind of like, what can I do? And one that I noted, I enjoyed watching Lauren Babineau from Ithaca on a number of events. She's a really nice gymnast, but like vaults a souk Arabian. And I was just like, well, that's a nice different thing to see. And it was a really good one, just a little step with it. And of course, you know, the code does not differentiate between a souk, the half twisting back tuck, and a souk Arabian, which is what she did, which is a souk half twist front tuck. But it's a lot cooler and a lot more fun to watch. So I liked that a lot. I tried not to do too much comparison to D1, but it's kind of inevitable. But my justice for D3 scores routine was Evelyn Resnick at Simpson, who was way too crisp on bars to get a 9.45. That was a 9.7 D1 routine, as far as I'm concerned. We're getting past 9.45 with that. It's a really nice routine.
Evelyn Resnick. This is what, yes. So we're going to be on the lookout for you for a fair score. I mean, honestly, like going back to, this is the one thing about Madison Zimmerman at Ursinus was her beam. When I was like, oh, that beam routine actually looked perfect. So her score was like a 9.85. I was like, oh, okay. So that's in line. Like that's what.
Yeah, it's like, I think that it's a fair, I think it was 9.825. It's a fair score for that routine. But you know, what else is happening?
Yeah. In opportunities for comedy, another one this week from Ursinus.
Yes, I was sending Jessica some gifs of warm-ups because I was having fun, and you felt that this was very relatable. This is Jessica's relatable gymnastics moment of the week.
The relatable gymnastics moment of the week is when you're doing your gainer dismount off the end of the beam, which is terrifying. So you want to throw yourself away from the beam as hard as you can, because if you don't, your head will whack on the back of the beam. And my favorite, most relatable moment is a gymnast doing this basically to face. Gainer tuck back off the end of the beam to knees, but did not hit her head on the end of the beam. And also her teammate just yanking her at her leotard while she nods, watching her like, yep, let me make my leotards in place. You're not dead. Okay. Nod your head going on. So like, all right, I'm ready for the next thing. Also, did you notice this is their pink meat leotard? And the chalk that came out of the mat, on the sting mat at the end of the beam, was pink when she landed. Did you notice that? Or else you have a crazy color filter on your GIF making, your screen, that you made a GIF out of this. But I was like, oh my God, are they using pink chalk? Because pink chalk exists, and this would be so cool. They're using pink chalk. So Ursinus, let us know. Highlights of the week, I want to talk about Morgan Price's vaults, because she's basically she's only doing a Yurchenko full, but they're so high and so perfect that they need to be talked about all the time, because they're so, like, when I talk about flat hips, straight legs, this is what I'm talking about. Like, she might as well, her lower body might as well be an Olympic champion pommel horse worker when she is vaulting. That's how flat her hips are and perfectly in line her shoulders to her knees are. It's so well done. So I just, Morgan Price is really, really, really good. And she should be getting a perfect 9.95 on everything. Another person
that's the give and take of the scores, because I felt like that vault was really underscored compared to other Yurchenko falls.
Yeah.
Like if that's 9.825, no one else should be getting out of the 9.6s. ever. Because there's nothing wrong with that vault. And the thing is, the video feed for this was from the side. I mean, we are seeing exactly what the judges are seeing, and the vault is perfect. That's how you know it's perfect, if you put an A at the end of the word perfect.
The other person that I want to talk about who got a perfect 9.9, well, it's not perfect. It was a perfect 9.925, not a perfect 9.95.
That's not perfect score.
But J Mac at Illinois State, they're the Redbirds.
Jessica perfect, 9.925.
A 9.925, but also is just, the thing about J Mac that's so crazy, she is so fast. Like, everything she does, if you blink, you will miss her vault. It's so gigantically huge, and she was so happy. I love every time a team tackles each other when someone gets an almost perfect score. It just makes me so happy. So J Mac, Illinois State. In terms,
I would also like to note that Raffaele from LIU, who we talked about when she did her handspring front pike into the stanchion, stuck it this week. So as Jessica said, once you get that power under control, it's going to be fantastic. stuck it this week.
Handspring front pike. That's worth a 10, isn't it?
No. Half it has to have a half.
Oh, it has to have a half. Yeah. I mean, if you can get a perfect 995, do you have to have a 10 start value vault to win? In your opinion. To be NCAA vault champion.
Oh, we're still doing NCAA vault champion? From the semifinal day? Yeah, you probably do. Someone's going to get it like more than a 995.
If Rafaela did that freaking handspring front pike, which
is a 9.9 start, by the way.
Oh yeah, you're not going to do it with a 9.9
full.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a Yurchenko full. Yeah.
No, she stuck and got like a 9.725 or something, but it was like, I'd rather watch this.
Sorry, if it was at least a 9.95. I feel like if there's someone that does,
like, you're asking if like Shea Campbell or KJ Johnson could be, or Morgan Price could be, or J Mac as a vault champion.
Morgan, I would, yes, because like we have had Morgan Price with a 9.95 or KJ Johnson with their 9.95 vault that are worth 9.95 that are absolutely perfect, extended in every way. I would say Morgan Price's is the most perfect of all the perfects, and because it's like the highest too, with KJ Johnson's height, but Morgan Price's form is perfect. I mean, we have seen that is more perfect than other vaults we have seen that have been stuck 1.5s with bent knees and bent hips that have been NCAA champions.
I agree. You were asking me practically.
I just want to put
I feel like someone's going to get over 9.95 for Yurchenko 1.5. There are so many, and there are many very, very good ones that I think it's most likely. It's not impossible that a Yurchenko full could win this year, but I think it's most likely going to take a 10-0 start.
Rafaela, just add a half turn to your tight front, and I'm cheering for you. In the 10 trackers.
Yeah.
So far,
two more this week.
Yep. The only beam is still Helen Hu. But we have 2 bars now. So Morgan Price joined Jordan Chiles for bars perfect 10. Floor joining Jordan Chiles in the 10.0 club this year is Maya Lazan of Cal. Her floor got a 10. Maya Lazan, who I think has done a perfect floor routine a million times, and she finally got a 10 for it.
This was one of those that was very much like illustrating, I think because we have fewer 10s this season, it's kind of illustrating how arbitrary and circumstantial the 10s are, because I'm like, this is the same routine she does like every week.
Every week. Yep. I'm very happy for her, though, because she has definitely been like one of the best, if not the best gymnast in the country for a very long time, and never seems to get those individual titles that she should. So very happy.
I mean, this is her 3rd event now that she has a 10 on.
I know, but she should have had 10
all kinds of Cal records.
Lots of times, though.
I feel like, it's beautiful gymnastics, but she gets rewarded for it.
I won't be satisfied until she and Morgan Price are NCAA champions, and Helen Hu. I want that. You remember that year we had the 10-way tie for vault? I want that for
that nightmare.
Being a floor. Oh, yeah. We will see you on 4 p.m. Pacific on Spencer's Watch Along on gymcasting.com on Valentine's Day. Don't send him flowers, but you can chat along. And thanks to everybody for being so positive and supporting Spencer in this way. It's really, really great to see so much support for him. And then College and Cocktails, the Friday night NCAA post-meet show, starts Valentine's Day, 7:30 p.m. after we watch Oklahoma versus LSU, 1 versus 2. The drink this week or mocktail is what are deductions? What are deductions?
Topical.
We've never heard of them. Fantasy lineups lock February 14th at 3:30 Pacific. You can try to beat me. I'm in like 39th now, just so you guys know. Never miss a College and Cocktails. And for the week, I'm even higher, I think. I'm just saying. I was tied for 39th this morning. I was like, God, I'm really good at this. Which I set my line up and forget about it. Never miss a College and Cocktails episode. You can add the entire schedule for the year to your Apple or Google Calendar. There's a link in the show notes on how to do that. And until next week, please remember to take up on gay, split on rights. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you for the watch along at 4 p.m. on gymcasting.com. Thanks for listening.